We have breaking news on ABC 17 News at noon. Just about 90 minutes ago, law enforcement and medical crews were called to an active scene in South Columbia. It's happening around Bellevue near Scott Boulevard and Bethany Drive. And an armed suspect is now in the hospital after being shot by police at a Philadelphia shopping mall. Local media reports the shooting happened yesterday afternoon outside the mall in a parking garage. This morning's fire took about 15 to 20 minutes to put out, but crews say it burned so hot that a nearby home and a shed were also damaged by the extreme heat. In a developing story this morning, former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort and longtime business associate Rick Gates have turned themselves in amid the Russian meddling investigation. Your late-breaking headlines now from the ABC 17 newsroom. The ACLU, this is from ABC News, the ACLU now launching a new campaign today as part of the debate over Confederate statues. Here, the last of these two trucks that were involved in this crash being towed off now. This commercial vehicle, one of those two trucks involved, we're told 3 people were sent to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and so traffic's still moving a little bit slow. Drivers around mid-Missouri are going to want to watch those roads this morning. We're seeing fog in parts of our viewing area. We have crews out and about on the roads to show you what to expect. Buildings like this one, the local VFW here in Rockport, a city that got the full force of the Category 4 storm, now completely unrecognizable. There is a new challenger for Claire McCaskill's Senate seat. Austin Peterson was a former presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. Here in Katy, Texas, the task force has to be ready to depart at any time to any place for any amount of time. This copy of Rector's release agreement shows a payout of $100,000. That's $50,000 for each of the 2 years left on her contract. Combined with Dodson's, the payments to employees who resigned with years left on their contracts totals almost $250,000. In just about an hour, the president of the University of Missouri system is going to break down the millions of dollars in pending budget cuts and layoffs. Now, we already reported at least 2 new positions are getting cut out of university relations. Right now, ABC 17's Sarah Massler-Donar joins us live in the studio with the details on what we're expecting this afternoon. And Sarah, MU faces about $60 million in cuts next year. More than 2.5 million Americans have addiction problems with prescription drugs or heroin. That's according to the American Society of Addiction Medicine. But while the opioid crisis obviously affects more than just those who are addicted, it turns out more and more children are at risk of addictions without even taking the drugs. This is Drew and Kirsten Wansing in April, caring for their 6-month-old foster child, Michael. Unable to conceive on their own, the Jefferson City couple has cared for dozens of foster children over the last 2 years.
This is a way for us to grow our family and break the cycle for other kids.
Michael was placed with the Wansing family when he was just 40 days old after being released from his birth hospital into the custody of the state. It's because Michael's biological mother suffered from several forms of substance abuse.
Methamphetamines, opiates, and marijuana, and alcohol.
Michael was exposed to all those substances, including opioids, while he was still in the womb. For many children, that exposure can often turn into prenatal addiction. That condition, when it relates to opioids, is known as neonatal abstinence syndrome, or NAS. And it's something that doctors like Naomi Lauriello at the University of Missouri have been seeing more and more frequently.
So at delivery, babies aren't usually actively withdrawing because the maternal drugs that they've been using are still in their system. So usually within a day or two, we observe them, and when they hit a certain level of symptoms.
Symptoms like high-pitched crying, irritability, jitteriness, vomiting, diarrhea, and many others. Like fetal alcohol syndrome, NAS can lead to malnutrition and growth problems. Michael, who was exposed to several harmful substances, has to make frequent doctor visits, this time to a feeding specialist. NAS can lead to seizures and even death if not properly treated, and Lauriello says the treatment is no quick process.
It takes a while for, depending on what medications the mom is on, it can take a while for that to completely go away. So sometimes if they're on a mixed drugs, they'll start withdrawing from one drug and then continue to have increased symptoms from withdrawal of a second drug.
According to a report by the Missouri Hospital Association, the number of NAS cases across the U.S. has increased about 300% since 1999. Here in the Show Me State, the number of cases has increased by 538% in just the last decade.
There's an increasing rate of opiate addiction in the United States, both prescribed and illicit drugs. And so those are the babies that tend to have the highest rates of withdrawal. We usually have 1 to 2 babies withdrawing at any time in the nursery. Some days it seems like it's up to 5 or 6, and then some days it's, it just depends.
Of every 1,000 infants born in Missouri, this map shows how many are born with NAS. On average, Boone County delivers a little more than 4, Callaway County about 3.5, and Cole County more than 5 babies for every 1,000 are born addicted to opioids. Those rural counties in red are where the rates get into the double digits, like Pulaski County at almost 15 and Iron County at more than 26.
Makes me feel sad that there's not resources in the support systems for moms to get clean and get the assistance to help their child.
Mothers who are pregnant probably don't feel comfortable coming forth if in fact they are using opiates. So, I think we have to create a culture where we can try to provide that prenatal care that's in a non-judgmental, helpful way.
Julia Adamy coordinates home and community-based services at Great Circle, a social services organization that contracts with the state of Missouri to manage things like counseling, child abuse prevention, autism programs, as well as foster care and adoption cases. Adamy says the uptrend in NAS cases has contributed to an influx in children needing foster homes.
Now, heroin, prescription, opiate drugs that parents are taking who receive no prenatal care. The realm of all of that has opened up, and so it's much larger than what we never used to see that, hardly.
Mid-Missouri does have one less foster care case after the Wansings adopted Michael last month. His treatment and health monitoring continue, now officially, as part of the family. There are multiple addiction treatment centers in mid-Missouri. If you'd like to learn where those are, more about NAS, Great Circle, or anything we've talked about during our series on battling the opioid crisis, you can visit our website, abc17news.com, and click or tap on the Opioid Crisis tab.